Today you're going to learn about 7 things to know when traveling in Mexico. Hi everybody, I'm Mike Vondruska. I am the Chief Tour Designer for MexicoVacationTours.com. Today I thought I would put together a quick 7 things to know when you're traveling in Mexico. Mexico is a huge country, and that's number 1. Mexico is huge. To give you an idea, if you've been to Europe, Western Europe, if you added all these countries up together, all of these countries don't even equal yet the size of Mexico. Mexico is bigger. It's a huge country. I'll give you an idea. Take a look. Here's Mexico. Here's Cancun, way over here. Here's Puerto Vallarta, over here on the Pacific side. If you were to travel all the way from Cancun to Puerto Vallarta, or Puerto Vallarta to Cancun, all right? That would be this many kilometers, 2,478 kilometers, or in miles, 1,540 miles. I said Mexico is big. And so take that in consideration when you're going places, because sometimes you're like, oh, I want to go see this, I want to go do that. Well, you can, but if you're going to go by ground transportation, bus, car, private van, know that it's going to take some time. Fortunately, you can see a lot of Mexico by flying. Some of the in-country airlines are not all that expensive. And if you find the right schedules, there are airports, small airports in most of the major cities. You can see a lot of Mexico if you're flying. Otherwise, you want to see an area, a region of Mexico. So, number 1, remember, Mexico is huge. Okay, here's number 2. Not all of Mexico is warm. When we see the advertisements for Mexico, we always see people on the beach in bikinis and swimsuits and bright sunshine. And yes, along the coast, a lot of times that's true, but not in the entire country of Mexico. If you're flying into Mexico City, for instance, you go in December, January, it's going to be cold. You look outside, you see the guys that are going to take your luggage, the guys bringing in the planes, they're in coats, they're in hats. It's cold. Most of Mexico is at a high plateau. There's 2 strains of mountains, and of course up in the mountains it's colder. Wherever you're going in Mexico, make sure you go online, check out the month that you're going in, and make sure that you are prepared with the right clothes to accommodate whatever weather might happen. Even in places like Cancun in January, February, sometimes in the evening, it gets cool. So you're going to want to bring at least a windbreaker, or a jacket, or a fleece of some kind, just in case. So remember, number 2, not all of Mexico is warm. All right, let's move on. Tip number 3 when going to Mexico. This is something that's pretty important, and you should always try to do this, and that is, number 3, get pesos, small bills, coins. Not everywhere in Mexico are they going to accept your Canadian dollars, your US dollars. And especially in the smaller areas, they don't even know what to do with it. That would be like living in the United States and going into a grocery store and then pulling out Mexican pesos to pay for it. They're not going to take it. And that's the same in many, many places around Mexico. So just because maybe you've been to Cancun or Puerto Vallarta and they accept dollars. In fact, in the Cancun area, that's all they want because they can make more money than accepting pesos. But I digress. Anyway, yeah, they accept dollars in places like that. The touristy, the commercialized tourist places. But the rest of Mexico, not really. And also, just beware, even though you have a credit card with you, not everywhere do they accept credit cards. In fact, where I have an office in Veracruz, there's a Costco. There's Costco's here in the United States, and no problem. I went with my credit card, my Visa card, and guess what? They didn't accept it. Yet, the person in front of me, this Mexican woman, she used her Visa card. And I was like, well, what's going on? You won't accept mine, you accepted hers. Because her credit card is from a Mexico bank, mine's from an international bank. So you have to kind of be careful. Now, I'm not saying that happens all over the place, but sometimes it does. Just as a passing note, Costco did accept American Express. Sometimes also in smaller towns, your restaurants, your shops, you want to buy something, they might not accept credit cards. That's why cash is very important. Get pesos. And also, small bills and coins. You go to a place, you see something you like, a shop, you want to buy it, you give them like 500 pesos and they look at it going, I don't have any change. Now, they could probably get it, but you might wait there 15 minutes because they're going to send their little boy down the block from one place to another to see if he can find some change. It just makes sense as much as possible to have smaller bills. Pay in smaller bills whenever you can. Also to have coins. Yes, people will come up and maybe they want to sell you some trinkets for 10 pesos and you can give them 10 pesos. Or if you're taking public transportation and the urban buses, many times there are people that come on board and they play their guitars, they do some kind of entertainment, some comedy, and you might want to throw them some pesos because you don't want to look like you're this cheapskate foreigner on the bus. And if you got 200 pesos in your pocket, you're not going to give them that. So make sure wherever you go, make sure you have a pocket full of change because it comes in handy. Also know that you've got ATMs all over the place, so it's not a problem. You can use, your bank card, credit card, whatever, to get that out. And there are exchange houses. They're called Casa de Cambios. Also, hotels will exchange it. Maybe the rate isn't as great, but you can exchange money. Best thing to do if you got a guide with you, ask them. They know the areas where you can go and get the best deals on exchanging your money. But don't rely on foreign dollars. Don't rely on credit cards. Always be prepared that you might have to pay cash. Even a lot of gas stations, if you had rented a car, might not accept your credit card because it's a foreign credit card and you're going to have pesos to pay. Now again, I'm talking about mostly in the other 99% of Mexico, which is outside of the places that you see advertised on television all the time, like Cancun, Puerto Vallarta, Ixtapas, Zihuatanejo, Cabo San Lucas, Acapulco. When you get outside those areas, okay, rules change, all right? So that was number 3, get pesos. Tip number 4, and this is a cultural thing. And that is, when in restaurants, you need to know about how to handle yourself with the service and with paying. I'll give you a true story. Remember, I have a travel company, MexicoVacationTours.com, and we have foreign tourists, small groups that come. One time we had a small group and they had arrived the afternoon the day before, and we were to meet them the next morning to start the trip. So we met them, we're in the van, and as we're traveling, I start to overhear some of these people talking about the restaurant that they went to the night before on their own. And they were saying how the food was good, but how terrible the service was. The one woman was complaining. She said, they never came and asked me if I wanted more coffee. My husband wanted another beer. They didn't come and ask him if he wanted another beer. They didn't bring the check. We finally had to ask for it. It was terrible service. And the other lady said, yeah, you're right. I didn't even tip him. Did you? I didn't, I just gave him a couple it was terrible service. And I'm thinking, oh no. So I said, excuse me. I said, let me tell you about the culture of Mexico. It's just a little bit different. In a restaurant, when you're with your family, your friends, the last thing in the world they want to do is interrupt you having a good time with the people that you are with. And so they're not, after they serve your food, your drink, they're not going to necessarily come up and say, hey, how's everything? Can I get you something? They don't do that. Now they're watching, and if you do need something, you just kind of go like this, and they'll come over and you can order your extra beer, coffee, whatever. Also, if they were to come at the end like they do in the United States, for instance, and they say, hey, is there anything else? Oh, great. And then they stick the bill on the table and they say, thanks for coming, have yourself a great day. And the bill is sitting on the table. Oh my gosh. That would be a total insult in Mexico. Because what that bill denotes is, hey, you're done, get the hell out of here. No. Enjoying the company of the people that you're with is most important. And again, the people at the restaurant that work there, they are not going to even remotely give you the impression that you need to get out of here. It's time to leave. And by bringing a check like they do in other countries, that denotes that, okay, you're done, leave. And so, when you're ready for the check in Mexico, you just kind of go like this, look at that, try to get their attention, and just go like this, like you're pretending you're writing the bill. Or if they're close enough, you can say, La cuenta, por favor. The bill, please. Cuenta is bill. La cuenta, por favor. And they'll bring the bill. That's how it works. Just remember, they're not being rude when they don't come to ask you if you need something else. They're not being rude when they don't bring the bill toward the end of your meal. You do have to ask for it in almost all cases. In the touristy areas, in the commercial areas, in some of the franchise places. And no, they're going to do it the American way because they're catering to tourists, not travelers. But in Mexico, I'm talking about Mexico, not the Las Vegas of Mexico like Cancun. I'm talking about the real Mexico. That's how it works. Now you know. Numero 5. That is police cars. Why did I bring that up? I'll tell you. This just happened actually. I forget who I was talking to, a woman, and she was telling me they had just gone, I believe it was to Puerto Vallarta. And she said, boy, it must really be dangerous. I don't know if I'd go back there. I said, really, what happened? She goes, well, every night there were these police cars and they had their lights on and they were here and then we'd see lights over there and oh my gosh, what's going on? There must be a lot of crime and violence and then I said, wait a minute, you saw the lights going in the cars. And they said, well, they were trucks. And she was right. A lot of places in Mexico, they don't have police cars, although they do, but they have police pickup trucks. There's the guys, they could be policemen, in some places they use the soldiers. And they got a rifle a lot of times in their hands. Now, you're seeing it, it's visual, you can see them sitting out there. But think about it. In the United States, for instance, or other places, those police cars, inside their car, they probably got an arsenal of guns and big rifles and stuff like that. You just can't see it from outside. But in Mexico, when you're riding in the back of the pickup truck, you can see it, okay? So to some people, it's a little unnerving, like, oh my gosh, look at those guns. Hey, they got them in every police car around the world. You just don't always see them. The lights are to show that they're there to protect you, to show the criminals, hey, we're here. When they do their rounds, they always have their lights on. At night, the lights are going around. That doesn't mean they're rushing to a crime. It means they're just patrolling and they're showing everybody that they mean business, don't do anything stupid, because we're here, we're present, and that's what it's all about. Now it's different, but that's okay, you're in a different country. You have to know that not everything is the same like back home. And with police cars, they have their lights on when they're doing their rounds, when they're patrolling. So just get used to it and get used to seeing them with the guns, all right? So that's number 5. Tip number 6. Most likely, if you have seen other videos about what you should know and things to know when going to Mexico, I bet you anything, you probably never saw this. And it's interesting because, in my opinion, it's probably one of the most dangerous things that you better watch out for in Mexico. What is that? Number 6. Are you ready? Beware of sidewalks. People always ask me, because I'm always in Mexico, they ask me, is it safe? And I tell them, listen, I said you should be more concerned about the uneven sidewalks that they have here and twisting your ankle or falling as compared to what's going on with drug trade and everything like that, because a lot of sidewalks are just not all even, as you can see here on the street that I live on. Here's a bump. So when in Mexico, watch where you're walking. The sidewalks in a lot of towns and cities in Mexico are just totally uneven. They're here, then they're here, then they're here, then they're here, and then you gotta walk up here, and then they're non-existent, and then it's over there. A lot of times the sidewalks are narrow, and then on top of it, you have a telephone pole, a light pole, you got a tree growing over with branches, and you got this much space. That's why you see a lot of people in smaller towns and even in the suburban streets of cities, they're walking in the street because it's so darn hard to walk on the sidewalk. Not to mention that sometimes if they're working and they dug a hole, they don't necessarily put stuff around it to say, hey, don't fall in that hole. It's your responsibility to see it and not fall in the hole. And sometimes there's holes and they're not working on it. You gotta look down. You can't oh wow, look at all these, boom, you fall. You twist your ankle, you fall in the street, you break. What I'm saying is sidewalks can be dangerous. People always ask me, oh, is it dangerous to go to Mexico? I go, yeah, look out for them sidewalks, man. And I'm serious about that. So beware of sidewalk. Number 7 is always tacos. That's right, always tacos. I tell people, if you like tacos, when you go to Mexico, you will never go hungry. You can find a taco stand in any town, any city, any pueblo, any village, anywhere. Whether it's a little restaurant, a taqueria, or it's just a stand on the street. Tacos are king. They're everywhere. You can get them at 10 in the morning, 8 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 4 in the afternoon, 8 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning, probably 3 o'clock in the morning. So if you need a snack, there's always, did I say always? Always a place to get tacos. Now if you don't like tacos, well, there's also a lot of stands that are open at night that sell hot dogs and hamburgers. So there you go. If you like tacos, you'll never go hungry in Mexico. Well, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you got something out of this. If you're planning to go to Mexico, these things will be in your mind. Remember them to get the small change. Make sure you're not using your own dollars. To watch out for the sidewalks. To make sure that you want to go like this when you get the check. All that fun stuff. It's all about their customs, not yours. And so it's best to learn them when you're outside of the tourist areas. If you'd like to stay informed of my next videos that come out, I do one about every week, then make sure you go to that subscribe button. Just push the button. If you really want to stay in contact, press the little bell, which will give you an indication of when the next video came out. Thanks for watching again, and as they say in Spanish, hasta luego. We will see you soon.